So there's been another incel shooting where 2 people have been shot and killed. 6 other people injured. And in typical media response, the fear-mongering begins anew. I remember there was also another shooting with some Jewish people that happened. I don't know much about that. But that was a thing that occurred as well. This is all going around on election day, where some people are trying to vote for stronger, tighter gun control. And that will be the video I make next. I will chat about gun control once again in the next video. But in today's video, I'm going to talk about incel shootings and the like. Again, because the shit keeps happening. And nobody is learning. So let me educate you on some things, alright? Hopefully people get something out of this video. So without further ado, let's get started. I want to start off by talking about this guy in particular. I think, what was his name? His name was like Steven, right? I'm sorry, his name was Scott. I can't pronounce this. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. Birielli. Okay. So, his name was Scott. Now, the thing that was interesting about Scott, a lot of people are likening Scott to Elliot Rogers in the sense that he actually made lots of YouTube, I won't say lots, but he made a couple of YouTube videos where he talked about his misogyny, and he talked about, he was also racist too. It was very interesting. There, I actually saw one of his videos, and the guy is like a complete clown. It's very interesting to me. In the video that I saw, he wouldn't say nigger, he wouldn't say nigga, he said nig. And his explanation as to why he said nig was because he didn't think that niggas like deserve the full 2 syllables. I don't know, man. He was a clown. I just started laughing. He was a clown, man. I couldn't take him seriously. And it's a little unfortunate that I couldn't take him seriously, considering the fact that like he seriously like walked into a yoga studio and shot a couple of people. But I think the thing I want to really, there's a lot of things I want to focus on, but I do think it's important to kind of like bring up the fact that like there was a video catalog here of how angry he was. But what was interesting that I want to point out here was the fact that a lot of people love to use these incel shooters as like poster boys for incels. The obvious "Hail the Supreme Gentleman Elliot Rogers" is like an obvious joke, or I assumed it would be an obvious joke. But like these guys who shoot people are very clearly outliers when it comes to incels. And let me just stop and say, I really don't like the term incel. It sounds so fucking stupid. Because like, I don't know, I think I made this point before, but seriously, like, you can't involuntarily abstain from sex. That's what the word means. Anyhow, I'm gonna use incels just so, for sake of understanding, but I don't like it. I think it's stupid. Hey, isn't it kind of funny that it was actually a woman that came up? No, I'm actually not joking. It was a woman that came up with the term incel. I'm joking about calling her stupid, just so you guys understand. Anyhow, so a lot of people are likening him to Elliot Rogers, but even still, these guys a lot of the times are outliers. They're not really very common. This guy over here, like racist people in general, like who are that blatantly racist, are not like a very common thing you find normally like on the internet, or especially like on YouTube talking about like stuff. So to use him as like a poster boy, I think is silly. I think he was like what, 42, and a lot of incels are actually like still like younger men. I have seen and chatted with like a couple of like 40-year-old virgins, and when I say a couple, I do like literally mean like maybe 1 or 2. From time to time, I don't really find very many of them on the internet. It's mostly usually like younger men in their like mid to early 20s who are like this, who are really the more typical incel, maybe even their late 20s too. So I don't really think the idea of using Scott Birelli, or using Scott as like a poster boy is reasonable. In the same way, I never thought that using Elliot Rogers was reasonable either, because Elliot Rogers was a privileged guy who acts, even in his privilege, still led a pretty broken home life, and kind of suffered a lot in silence. And I think that's really interesting about these guys here. Another thing about Scott that was also very peculiar, particular too, was that he also had like a track record of like going around like grabbing women's butts, smacking them on the butt, and all of that. So like he's not like a normal, typical, so-called incel, what you guys would think. So to use him as like an example of like, hey, here we go again, like this is why incels are dangerous, is kind of stupid to me. But I think here's my grander point. Here's something I really want to discuss, because this is some shit that I think kind of goes beyond Scott. And that is like the fear-mongering with incels is something that's really silly to me, for a lot of reasons. Let's start from the top. Now, this is just me. This is just me and my like self-preservation. But like, I don't really understand the desire people have to fuck with crazy individuals. I don't understand why people bully crazy kids. I don't understand why people make social pariahs out of crazy people, or people they assume to be crazy, people they assume to be dangerous. That's just not some shit that has ever made any conceivable sense to me. Because if you think that this person is gonna kill you, why are you fucking with them? Like that's just me. Like when I was in high school, I literally sought out the crazy kid and befriended that guy. Like whenever I found someone alone off in the corner, like I made an effort to befriend that motherfucker, because I figured that when that nigga went crazy, he won't be shooting me. Okay, I'm joking. Okay, I'm only half joking. I am being serious. I did like befriend lonely people, and they oftentimes are actually very interesting too. One thing that I find interesting, I say interesting, but they are cool people. Like some lonely like people, or like loner people, if you try to befriend them, if you have enough patience to actually like talk to them and try to get them to open up, they can become they're really interesting people sometimes, and they can become really great friends. And sometimes they're not even crazy kids. They're just like socially awkward, and they just don't know how to like initiate. And this could be like a huge problem with a lot of incels that will not be solved if you turn these people into social pariahs. So if you're turning these people into social pariahs, let's just kind of jump back to one point and then get back to this one. Like, again, if you think that these people have the capacity to go out and kill you, why are you making an enemy out of that person? Seriously, why would you try to if you think incels are dangerous, if you think they're bad, why would you want to fearmonger those people you think are going to go around and start killing you? It just doesn't make any sense to me. If anything, I would reckon that if you see that these people are like really harsh and terrible, you might want to like try to help them at first, and if you fail to help them, then of course at that point you leave them. You leave people to their own device. If people do not accept help, if people are not getting the help you're trying to give them, you have no choice but to leave them to their own devices. But until that point comes, I don't see why you hit the ground running with trying to make it seem like this is the worst obvious person ever. He hates women, and we need to make sure that society hates him too, because you realize, if anything, that's going to push those more, I guess, moderate incel into a more extremist position, because you're isolating him more and more. So he's had less of a chance. Here's another thing. Like, you got to really think about this one, too, because if someone identifies as an incel, and they're already, just from the offset, like before all this incel bullshit happened, they already feel like unloved and just unattractive to women. Now you turn them into an antagonist, and you more than anything make their feelings a little more, I wouldn't say actually I can say a little bit more justifiable, because now there really would be a collective hatred against these people, when really at first they were just lonely and just awkward and just didn't know how to relate to anyone. And so if you keep pushing, here's the thing, like it's never gonna get better, and this is my ultimate point here. The problem with like gun control and like shooting people is like things are never going to get better if we don't actually start like trying to address the social issues and the actual problems that people are having. Things are never going to change by just turning people into social pariahs and making them look bad. Because Scott was a very special, misogynistic, racist individual who honestly should not have been married. Like, yeah, he probably should have been alone, and he probably should have tried to reevaluate his own behavior and try to become a better person. But at 40 years old, I think you're kind of set in your ways at that point. I don't really know if there's much evolution at the tender age of 40. I think that's it, man. I think you are who you're gonna be at 40. I don't know. I'm kidding, but I am being serious though. He did seem to be someone who's pretty set. So like Scott doesn't seem like an individual. I say he doesn't. He's dead now. He killed himself. He didn't seem like an individual who would have accepted help and would have tried to like get out of his racism and his misogyny. And he is someone who genuinely should have not been with a woman because he hated them. Seems pretty reasonable to me. You know? But at the same time, using him as an example for incels and why you should be afraid of them is not going to help them. If anything, it's just going to push people more into a position where they're going to want to go out and shoot people and hurt them. Because here's the thing, like incels are not unlike attention whores, right? And as far as an attention whore will do what she needs to do to get the reaction she wants. So if it's showing her ass on Instagram, that's what she'll do. If it's showing her tits to strangers on some app, that's what she'll do. And incels, again, they're not unlike that in the sense that they're lonely and they want some positive affirmation from someone. And that is, they will blend in to become, I would say, I wouldn't say genuinely misogynistic, but definitely spiteful and bitter towards women. They will definitely have a very biting attitude towards women. I don't want to go as far as to say they hate them, because the truth of the matter is women do some nasty, shitty things. Like, I know personally, like, they do. And so, like, there are some typical, like, feminine behaviors that are very, like, toxic and fucked up. So, I'm not gonna say calling that out in and of itself is misogyny, because like you can pattern recognize like horrible women shit and like great women stuff, because like there are some really great women in the world. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that they'll go into that bitter commentary about women so they can find some kind of camaraderie between other lonely people. And the thing is, you have to make sure that these people can feel like they can get back into society, because the more you push them out of society, the more you push them into a corner, the darker they're going to get. And that's not going to help anyone out, because again, if you think that these people are going to go out and start shooting you, man, I don't know why you're antagonizing them. Like, that's like me going up to a rattlesnake, right? That's like me looking at a rattlesnake and then like, hey, let me go pet the little rattle. And the rattlesnake, shh. And I'm just like, oh no, I'm just gonna, let me just touch this fucking rattlesnake. And then when the rattlesnake bites me, I'm like, oh, no, someone kill it. Get rid of this rattlesnake. I could have just left this motherfucker alone, but instead I decided to fuck with it. Now I'm mad. Like, I can't be upset with the rattlesnake when the nigga told me to leave it alone. That's the whole point of the rattle. That's what I'm saying about incels. I'm not saying that it's justified when incels go out and shoot people. That's not what I'm saying, man. But what I am saying is that the more you turn these people into social pariahs, the more they're probably going to go out and start like fulfilling that destiny that you set out for them. So basically, at the end of the day, help people that you can help, but don't always try to antagonize people that you think have the capacity to kill you. I think that's the most important thing here. Like, seriously, the antagonization of incels is something that should really stop if you think that these people are that dangerous. Now, if you think that you're just like, if you don't think these people are dangerous and you're just like mocking them so you feel good about yourself, well then you just gotta kind of have another problem in general. If you feel like you gotta put down the bottom of the barrel to feel good about you, nigga, you ain't any better, bruh. Like, I don't really see what the difference is between you and that incel if that be the case. But yeah, let's see. That's the video. Help people when you can help them. Otherwise, this problem's not going to stop, and more people are going to get shot and killed because you keep turning these people into social pariahs that want to kill you. Hopefully, someone will learn that lesson, or they won't. So that being said, I just hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, man, go and click the like button. Should go and click that. Woo! Excuse me. Subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. And I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.